on live right now. We have 20 plus users who are live right now. So first of all, allow me to welcome you all to this webinar on cross-browser testing using LambdaTest and PractiTest. First of all, let me welcome uh, Anthony Lippen. He is Customer Success and Training Manager at PractiTest. Today he would be helping us out with what exactly PractiTest is, how exactly you can leverage PractiTest to make your processes better, make your testing and your product management pipelines better. Myself, I'm Udit Singh. I'm Director of Product and Growth and LambdaTest, and I would be hosting the webinar today for you. I will be also helping us out in how exactly the integration of PractiTest and LambdaTest looks like. Maybe also we will, if time permits, deep dive into what exactly LambdaTest is, how exactly you can use LambdaTest as well. Right. So the agenda of today is, of course, Anthony will be helping us out in reusable test cases to accurate and efficient test management. He would be also help us out with getting a better feel around how tested permutations can help for, let's say, in multiple browser settings, how you can do your cross-browser testing. He would be also helping us around with adapting different workflows and how all these test results will be showcased in PractiTest and in a tailored and informative way. And we will also look into the LambdaTest and PractiTest integration as well. So at the end of the webinar, we will be doing a Q&A session as well. So if you have any questions and answers, feel free to ask them in the chat setting. We would be happy to go through them during the webinar as well if you feel that it would be right fit at that time. Or else at the end of the settings, we will be taking all these questions one by one. So feel free to ask all and every question that you have, any crazy question you have around LambdaTest or PractiTest, and we will be happy to help you out with that part. Right. So at this point, I want to kind of give the baton over to Anthony. Anthony, I will be stopping my screen share right now. I hope you are, and you can from there start your screen sharing session. Right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Awesome.
Right. Okay. Right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now.
Yes, I am. Yes, we can.
Okay, so firstly, let me thank Mudit for allowing us to join with you for this webinar to talk about using LambdaTest and PractiTest together. It's great to have this collaboration which has started with you, and hopefully this is just the beginning, and we're looking to do improvements and increase our collaborations over time as we get going. So firstly, let me talk a little bit about myself. I'm at the moment Customer Success Manager for PractiTest and also Training Manager. I'm a British expat, and I've been living in Israel with my wife and 4 children now for about 15 years. I have over 20 years experience as an educator in various roles. And before I came to Israel, I was working in community education, and moving into Israel, I needed a new career because there are educators, teachers, etc., living on every street corner, or rather in every building, actually. And so I started looking for something in high tech, which has always been an interest of mine. And child's kindergarten's husband was working as an IT manager in a local startup. And he said, why don't you apply for something in QA? I know we've got some positions going in our company. Why don't you apply for something? So I did. And I was shown one of these login pages and asked to work out some tests for them. And so I was accepted and worked for 3 years in that first company. But while I was doing QA testing, there were things which sort of frustrated me with QA. And ironically, now being in PractiTest, if I'd have had software like PractiTest, I might not be sitting here talking to you now. I might actually still be working in QA with a company in Israel. But that's part of the discussion which will come up later. And from QA, I did courses in technical communications as well, which means technical writing, being able to spread information to people and help teach people. And I also did support work. And I found that doing support work, I found more to be rewarding and enjoyable than actually just doing the QA work. And from there, I moved on into the newer field of customer success, which is in a way proactive support, whereby we nurture our customers, look after them, and help them through, firstly, the onboarding process. And then once they're onboarded, have regular discussions, chase them, try and talk to them about problems that they may be having with the software, things they'd like to improve, share with them our new features and what we're doing to improve the software, and to make sure generally, not that they're enjoying themselves with our software, but they're getting the best value possible out of our software. And customer success is something which has come across as a result of the SaaS movement and having software in the cloud. Because in the olden days, of course, you went out, you did your procurement process, you bought a piece of software, and then you were lumped with it for however many years until the cycle started again. And then the company came back with their sales team and tried to make sure that you bought the software again. Now, however, we have a situation where people can just hit a cancel button and be gone in a day, or at most a month. And so we need to look after our customers, make sure that they see that we're growing according to their needs and we're doing what we need them to. And so customer success as this sort of proactive support and trusted advisor helps people to use the software, to develop their own skills as well. I still use my knowledge of QA in the past to help people to try and work around issues that may be there and offer solutions and help them with what they need to do. And my hobbies, since I believe these should be mentioned as well in any CV that we're talking about. I love trains, planes, cycling, so transport, and also cycling is a hobby of mine as well. Just getting around, getting out and seeing what the world has to offer, which unfortunately, of course, has been curtailed completely this year. And so, as we were talking about before, it's part of a new reality. So an overview of PractiTest is that the company was founded 12 years ago in 2008, and it was founded to fill a gap in the market in that the founders of the company were QA testers themselves, and they had frustrations with existing QA software and said, wouldn't it be lovely if we could do QA software which did what we exactly wanted it to do? And that has been the motivation and the motto of PractiTest from the beginning, making software, QA software for QA testers created by people who have a knowledge of QA as well. And now 12 years later, we have customers from 55 countries, thousands of users. We have gone into security in a big way in that we are for Europe GDPR compliant. We are ISO 27001 certified, and we also have SOC 2 reporting as well. We're also an AWS in the partner network, and we're a technology partner of AWS whose software servers we use for our cloud systems and their enterprise cloud systems, again with the highest security. We're considered one of the industry leaders in the software area, even though we're a relatively small company. We have various awards, which you can look at on the screen here. And our trending view is to raise our profile and to be a better company that fulfills the needs of our users ever better. And as one of our leaders, our technology leaders as a customer has said, as the director of QA at Zerto, one of our customers, the greatest benefit is the transparency of the QA process that now exists in the organization. This was also the solution to our greatest challenge. Moreover, it gives the ability to quickly and easily manage all my tests and their history in a single place. So that's the propaganda. What is actually PractiTest's philosophy when you strip off the top layer? It's to plan and execute your testing. And I believe that goes into 3 specific areas. And this is where the software really tries to help you and to make sure you're able to do these things. Firstly, we want your test to be reusable to allow you to have simplicity and efficiency linked to your requirements. We also want you to be able to run your tests and accommodate multiple permutations and scenarios. And then once you've done that, to be able to report your bugs. And finally, all of your preparations, testing, etc., is nothing if you can't actually show it to your stakeholders, archive it, and then have it certified that you have actually done the testing. And we do this with amazing dashboards and reports to clearly show the results of your testing. So let's take through and go through each of these stages. Firstly, to be able to create your reusable tests, you need to be able to create those tests, organize your test suites, and to do your dashboards and reporting. And now I want to go into a little bit of a demo of PractiTest, show you the actual system running and what we can do with it. So if I bring up our PractiTest window, this is the front screen that you get on PractiTest, the dashboard screen. Whenever you open up PractiTest, you go to practitest.com and into your account, you'll see your dashboards with your immediate view. But to create your tests, you can go to the test library. And here we can organize your tests with filters to make sure that you're able to see whatever information you want. Supposing I've got a couple of features and I want to see what tests I have set by feature. I can just click on my features here and they'll open up and I can select feature A or feature B. If I open up feature A, I can see my tests in feature A. I can also see any requirements or bugs which I have linked to these tests. And it finally tells me how many steps I have. I can customize this grid as well so that I will see different information. If I want to include another column, I can just simply edit the filter and then see perhaps when I've got a particular priority set for it or a sub-feature or a test level set for it. If I have any of these set, then those will appear as well. I probably don't have them set at this level, but let's just have a look for a moment and see what I've got. So let's bring out priority. And I can put it in and order it wherever I want in the fields. Click change filter. And then I have my priority field here. And I can set my priority. For example, I could set it as high, and then I could just go through them each. Okay, click OK, and it's done. I could go to the next one, set it as normal, click OK, done. And then I can see my individual priorities for each of the tests. Once I've created the test, though, in PractiTest, the idea is that you make your tests as reusable as possible, and therefore you do them generically. So if with LambdaTest, you're using PractiTest to give you the test cases which you need to test on different browsers, and then you want to be able to mark them, I can have a test here which is called second test for feature B, but I'm not going to say test it on Edge and then create another test case to tell me to test it on Firefox. What I'll do is I'll create one generic test case, and I've got my steps here for each of the tests for the test case which I'm doing. And once I've done that, I can click Save My Changes. And then what I do is I add my test cases to a test set. Oh, okay. That was a poll that somebody wanted to send me. But I can then create a test set which will be for a particular browser. And so, for example, I can take these two tests. I can then do create a test set, and I can call it Lambda browser testing. And then I can select it for a version, let's say version 1.6. And I'm going to, for now, leave this browser blank because in test sets, which is the test suite which contains my test cases, I'm going to leave this blank. And then I'm going to create it. And here I have my new test set with the test copies, the copies of the test cases, which are linked through traceability. But this means these cases can be updated and they will automatically update the original test case in the test library if I ask them to. So I don't have to go looking for multiple copies of cases in different test sets. I can, in different test sets, which you might call test suites, because they're all already updated when I change them in the test library, And when I run them, they'll automatically pick up the latest version. So let's see, I've now got my test set, which I've just created here. Supposing I want to run it on to set up for 3 different browsers to do my LambdaTest testing on it. So I can click select here, and then I could select create permutations. And this will allow me to create multiple runs of the test for my 4 different browsers. I click here, and then I click next step. And I confirm that I want these permutations. Whoops, I went back instead of, sorry, next step. Select permutation, select all. And now I can click finish. And when I click finish, you'll see that the 4 new test sets have all come up with no run here. And I can run them manually following the information from LambdaTest. And if LambdaTest says that the first one passed, I can then go into it and click run here. I can pass all steps. Okay. And the test, and I could also put in any actual values I have. This worked. This happened, for example. And then it automatically saves. This is the only screen in the system which automatically saves your changes as soon as you make them. And when I go back to the test in the test instance, you'll see it's now marked as passed. And back in the test set itself, you'll also see that it's marked as passed this test. Now, supposing my theory is that I don't want to test the whole test set at once with just one browser, because I've set my browser here to be Chrome for the whole test set. Supposing I want to do it so that I can test the individual test instances within the browser, my methodology is that I'm going to do one test and I'm going to test it on 3 browsers rather than testing a whole set of test sets on one browser. I can do that methodology as well by, for example, using the browser in the instance level rather than at the test set level. And I do that by just opening up the test instance and selecting the browser. But because this is now one which is being done, let's do it on Chrome and save changes. And now go back to the test set. And I can see it's now selected the browser here as being Chrome. If I wanted to do this one on Firefox, for example, I could then change this one to Firefox. Save changes, back to the test set. And now I've got one for Firefox and one for Chrome. And I wouldn't want to anymore select this as being the whole browser for the test set. And I just change that to being blank. Now, having done all this, we want to be able to see that these changes take effect. And what is the effect of using a browser here, a browser there? And the answer is that anything which I have in one of these custom fields, if it's a list custom field, I can then plot it on a dashboard. So if I go back to the dashboard now, and I go to update the dashboard tab, it updates automatically every 15 minutes, but that's not fast enough at the moment. What we could see is that the instances by test set, browser and run status are all appearing here. And I can see all the test instances which I've tested and see which browser they're on. That Firefox no run, which I just put on there, is from now. And we've got the Chrome runs here. We've got one of each, a pass, a fail, and a block, and an MA. And you can see in your graphical representations all of the information which comes from your test sets or from the tests themselves. And here you can see also we've got our instances by test set. So you can see that I've done a custom field for test level. So I've got functional testing here, I've got regression testing and sanity. And these dashboards are tremendously useful because you can share these dashboard tabs with anyone who you want. They don't have to be in the company. You just create a coded URL, with PractiTest, and then you can share that with any of your stakeholders, with your customers even if you want to. You don't want them in PractiTest, but you want to show them what you've been doing, so you can show them and share them the dashboard URL. That updates in almost real time for them. So, and in addition to that, you can take any of these dashboard items, the actual dashboard charts, and you can embed them into any wiki which supports iframes. So for example, if you're using Confluence, you're using Microsoft SharePoint, anything which supports an iframe, you can embed individual charts in it, write a bit of explanation about it, and then show this is what my testing's doing. And of course, being an iframe, it will update again in almost real time as well. So once we've got the tests created and run, what about when we need to create bugs? And as I was saying earlier, one of the reasons why I'm no longer doing testing is I used to get so frustrated with creating bugs. You're in the middle of a testing session, running a test and getting your results, and you're right into the testing, and then suddenly you found a bug. You then have to remember the last 10 steps you did, write them down in a document. If you miss any of them, God help you, because your developers will come back to you and say, this isn't reproducible, and then go and reject it for you. So how do you create bugs efficiently in PractiTest? So it's very quick and easy. So let's go back into our test here and let's run it. We run our test. It says, do this for FB2, feature B2. Okay, I did this and it worked. And we'll do a pass. Now, this happens second for FB2. This went wrong. And when you do this, you could press fail here, but you can also press the fail and issue button. And when you press the fail and issue button, it goes to the issues module and it creates a bug. And when it creates the bug, it automatically brings all your reproduction steps in from the test case which you've been running. My actions were as follows. Step 1 was do this. Step 2 was do this second. The expected result was that this happened second. The actual result was this went wrong. And it gives you exactly what you need. You also have a check here when you hit the fail and issue button. You can look and see, have you got any similar issues which you've already created? And if you see something which is obvious and you don't need to create a new bug, you could link it to an existing bug. So what you could do then is, oh, I see issue 3 is actually what I need. So instead of clicking submit issue and continue testing, instead of changing the change, saving the changes, I could just click back and then I could link an existing issue, which you do by clicking here, and then you could just select issue 3, link to step, and it's done. Now, supposing on your test, you actually need to do a slightly different action. And just for this particular run of the test, instead of doing this for FB2, you need to do it for FB2 twice. So that's easy to adapt as well. You can do that by editing the step. And when you edit the step, it releases the boxes. And then you can say, do this for FB2 twice. You can then update the step by clicking update step, and then follow your instructions and do what you need to do by linking it to FB2 twice. Now, this will only change it in this particular run. So if I was to go back to the instance and hit the Run Now button again, save and run now, it will not save this change. It now says it as if you did it before. Supposing I want to change it permanently in my test library and change it for all time. Well, we've got a way of doing that as well. So if I go back to the instance now and go back into the one we modified, instead of just leaving it and moving on somewhere else, there's also a button called Update Original Test. And if I click this Update Original Test, it will now rewrite it to the test library. And now it says twice in this test case, number 4 in the test library. And next time I go and run this, wherever I am in the system, I'm just doing it for convenience in this particular test set, but even if this instance was copied anywhere else in the system, and I click save and run now, it will now tell me to do FB2 twice. So the new instruction has been transmitted. And this is wonderful for your traceability and being able to know where everything is, because you don't now have to track different copies of your test cases all over the place. You've changed something in one place and it's now been changed. You now need to change it in 20 different permutations, because you don't need to change it in different permutations. You only need to change it once and it will flow through the whole system. Obviously, anything which you've done already, you don't want to change. So if we go back to the original instance, which we ran before we started all these FB2 twices, you'll see that that is still the, oh, that wasn't the one I did before. I didn't run this one before, but if I'd have run it before, yeah, that's the one which I ran before I made the change. So you can see that the one I did before I made the change is still left the way it was, and it will always remain that way. So if you produce any reports involving it, it will still remain that way. And it keeps all the information for you. And finally, we've talked about dashboards. Let's talk also very briefly about reports. Dashboards are great for seeing what you need immediately and showing you what's continuously changing. But if you need something which to be archived, or you need to print something out which you can give to a certification or something like that, then you need a report. And we have a good selection of reports as well. And as they always say, here are a couple I prepared earlier. We have the instance with tabular steps report, which gives you a tabular report of all the steps you've done and the test cases that you've done. This you can create. You can then rerun it with the newest data as many times as you want, and it will always store your old copies of the report, so you can come back to them here. We advise you anyway to download them, but anyway, you can always keep them here, and you will see a full history of your reports. And if I open it, I know it's not on the screen at the moment. Let me just press the wrong button, I think. Just a moment. Okay, let's bring it back onto the screen. Here we go. So this is a tabular with steps report. It shows you your a few charts, summary charts that you can see with totals on, almost like you'd see in dashboards. And then on the second tab, you have your data. So you can check, again, everything's customizable. You can customize exactly what you see. You can put in the name of the test set, the status of the test set if you want to. You can put in who it's assigned to, the number of instances in the test set. You can put in any linked features, linked issues. You can put in the custom fields that you want to put in from the system, which allow you to organize the information. The step position will appear, and then you've got your step name, step description, step expected result, and finally the step actual result with the run status. And at the top of the screen, you can see how many test cases. You can filter these reports by using the filters which are in the system as well. And you can see that at the moment, it's not using any filter, it's using all instances and a total of 10 test cases with their respective instances over here. So that's the tabular with steps report. Probably the other most useful report we have is the tabular traceability report, which allows you to see the whole ALM process going through the whole system, starting with your requirements and then going through your tests, your test sets, and finally your issues which have been created. So you can see here, let's make it a bit larger so that you can see it. Whoops. So you can see the whole flow of the system that you're using. This is just a couple of requirements with a few tests, but you can see how clearly this tree works. And you can see everywhere it's been tested. You can see color-coded the status of each of the test sets, and then in the issues which have been reported as well in the system. Okay, and we don't want to save it. And if we go back now to move on to the rest presentation. We have hundreds of clients who love our system and are across so many industries as well. We have software, healthcare, finance, insurance, retail, government and education, and far more as well. Our security ratings mean that we are very attractive to customers in either the finance or the government industries, where security is very important to them. We have absolute confidentiality and of course the SOC 2 ratings as well. So the next steps that anyone who wants to have a look at PractiTest are just go to practitest.com. You can take out a 14-day free trial. You can set up free personal demos with one of our CS advisors. You can visit our blog at qablog.practitest.com. Our blog is pieces which are written by QA professionals, both from our company and across the industry. It's very popular with people to see best practices, what's going on in the QA industry. And of course, also, we have our free biannual testing, twice annually, I should say, testing conference, which has taken place recently in June and also takes place in December. And that's a 2 or 3 day conference, which is entirely free to attend. It's unlike everyone else who is now getting into the virtual workspace. We have been virtual now for many years, and we have, again, speakers from over the industry. We're highly sought after, and we have now different sessions at different times to work with different time zones to accommodate as many time zones as possible. If you sign up for the conference, even if you can't attend in person, we still have recordings of everything, obviously, and you can attend the sessions virtually online. And part of our online is having sort of meeting rooms where people, online virtual meeting rooms where people can discuss things after the sessions have completed, as well as asking questions during the course of the sessions as well. And of course, we have widespread videos and tutorials, our blogs also, and various webinars are available on our YouTube channel. I'm not writing the link for that because it's some gobbledygook. So if you go to youtube.com and just search for PractiTest, you will find our YouTube channel. And I just want to thank you for listening to me. If you do sign up for our trial, we have full support through online chat. We really look forward to hearing from you in the future. And at this point, I'm going to stop my screen share and hand over so that LambdaTest Mudib can continue with his side of the presentation.
Right, awesome, Anthony. It was very awesome demonstration about PractiTest. I think one of the few questions that we did get around that part is a comparison with Jira thing, with Jira. So in my view, I wanted to clarify that though Jira is a useful tool, awesome tool, but PractiTest is more oriented around like test management, test scaling stuff. So if you also can give in your world how exactly PractiTest compares to other product management tool like say Jira, and how it exists in the same ecosystem, I think that would be a good idea.
Right, okay, that's great. Thanks for bringing that point up. We work with Jira because Jira, one of the biggest in the industry, people do a lot of bug tracking in Jira, and we have a full two-way integration with both the Jira server system and the Jira cloud system, which confusingly are actually very different in the way they operate. And so you can bring in your requirements, user stories from Jira into PractiTest rather than writing them directly in PractiTest. You can then do your testing in PractiTest, and once you've done your testing, you can report your bugs from PractiTest into Jira with a two-way sync between them. And we're in the middle at the moment of improving, hot news off the presses, we're in the middle of improving our Jira sync so that not only do the status descriptions and name fields get synchronized with Jira, but very soon we'll be able to do customized integrations with Jira so that you can choose whichever fields you want to use from Jira and import them and sync them with PractiTest, again, in real time. But just to continue with your point slightly, where do we fit in with Jira in the ecosystem? I know that a lot of people say we think we can use Jira for test management as well. And to an extent, you can. But Jira is built as a bug tracker and a project manager, whereas PractiTest is built as a test management system. And they are very much set in their own ecosystems, and they have their own functionalities. And to say that, well, PractiTest should become a fully featured project management system, we're not aiming to do that, just in the same way as Jira isn't really a test management system. And yes, you can add things like X-Ray or Zephyr or other plugins to Jira, but at the end of the day, Jira remains a project management system. And so it's limited by the particular facets of what's needed and what's good for project management, whereas PractiTest remains a test management system and is entirely geared to test management.
So to give it a little bit of more clarity on this argument, I can say that like Jira and PractiTest are kind of a similar, like a kind of a same tools in the ecosystem, that they both can coexist together, that you can manage your projects and everything in Jira. However, like if you want to manage and deeply look into your testing cycles, that is more suitable at PractiTest, right?
Exactly, exactly. We would never try and replace Jira because Jira does what it does supremely well. But PractiTest for test management itself is a self-built tool which is purely geared for that. And any add-ons like the bug tracking in PractiTest, yes, it's nice, but it's not our original core functionality. Our original core functionality is to manage people's tests for them and to help them get their testing organized, run their testing in an organized way, and then to transmit the results of their testing.
Awesome, awesome. So that is also the point that I wanted to start with as well. So I have personally used PractiTest for our few workflows, and it is an awesome product, and it is geared toward making sure that you are managing perfectly your testing workflows. So it is geared toward your testing and DevOps and development cycles to make sure that it is working perfectly or not. So LambdaTest also kind of fits into that picture as well, and that is the point also I wanted to start with, to focus how exactly LambdaTest and PractiTest kind of fit together with each other, right? So to give a little bit of background about LambdaTest for specifically for users who are not in who are not familiar with LambdaTest platform, we are a cross-browser compatibility testing tool. We help users to increase their browser test coverage for both manual and automation Selenium-based testing. We have infrastructure of around 2,000 plus different browsers and operating system combinations. So this slide is a little bit older. We have around 2,500 plus trusted users who are using our platform. Right now, we have around 70 plus project management integrations that include PractiTest as well, and we have multiple features that will help your make your life easier, specifically around cross-browser testing and cross-browser testing products. So I also wanted to give a little bit of walkthrough on how exactly LambdaTest looks like and how exactly PractiTest comes into the picture. So if you do get a chance to check out LambdaTest, sign up in the LambdaTest. It's free to sign up, free to use the LambdaTest platform. You get a freemium plan that will allow you to perform basic testing across different browsers like Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, etc. And it will give you around, it's a freemium plan, like one of its class, where you can test on like different browsers, operating systems for free. But in a paid setting, you will get around 2,000 plus different browsers and browser versions, right? So that's a benefit that you get with LambdaTest. You not only increase your browser coverage, but you also get a infrastructure that can help your DevOps team and like the infrastructure team to offload their work around like maintenance of infrastructure for testing, specifically for testing. So when you sign up with LambdaTest, the first thing that you will notice would be our real-time testing feature. And this is also a feature that I wanted to start with. So it will allow you to test your website, web app on multiple different browsers. So for example, right now I'm using a Windows machine. So if I want to test my website on, let's say, a Chrome on a Safari setting, I need to buy a Mac laptop, right? But the Mac laptops cost like thousands of dollars, and each year a new browser or a new version of a operating system is launched. So that is again a different investment for the infrastructure, right? So instead, you can subscribe to LambdaTest, and you can directly use the Safari browser, use the operating system, and to test your website. So let me give you an example. Let me start a test. So I have also integrated LambdaTest with PractiTest as of now. LambdaTest has integrations with multiple different project management tools that include PractiTest, Jira, Asana, Trello, Slack as well. And I will be glad to help you kind of explore that fact as well. But the best thing about this is that the PractiTest integration, which is we are going to talk about right now. So this, as we just see, like this is a complete live interactive testing setting. That means you get complete access to this particular machine. So right now I have access to a Safari 13, Mac 10.15, Mac Mojave machine, on which I can perform both my live interactive testing. So when I say live interactive testing, that means that I can perform complete clicks, I can fill up the forms if I want. So it's as if I'm getting access to a machine that is like I have locally. So you get access to a machine that you may not have access to perform your local testing. So there are multiple features around this part. For example, you can take a video, you can change the resolution, and we have inbuilt geolocation testing features, which is very awesome. However, the best feature related to PractiTest that I wanted to show is the feature related to called as mark as a bug. So if you click on a mark as a bug, what it will do is it will take a screenshot of the viewport. That screenshot you can annotate. You can perform different actions on that screenshot, like mark as simple as a bug. Like for example, if you think this is a bug, you can mark it. You can even put it as a text. So if you once you have marked it, you can click on mark as a bug. So I have already an integration with Jira with PractiTest. What I can do with this mark as a bug is that I can directly pass on the screenshot along with all these annotations to my PractiTest directly. I don't have to switch apps. I don't have to switch windows. I don't have to download the screenshot and then add it. I can directly do it directly from LambdaTest itself. I can select which project I want to set it to. I can select which type of defect I want. I can select priority. I can even assign it to a different set of user. I can even give a like summary of a test. And best part is that this also integrates with Slack. So once Slack or also Microsoft Teams or other project like communication tools as well. So if, for example, I selected this send to Slack, I will create an issue. What it will do is it will create a simple task in PractiTest as well, along with the screenshot, along with all these details, and along with details around what browser operating system this website was run on, what was the resolution, everything, all this data, along with a link to that will help you in start that particular resolution again. Let me in fact show you that. That would be a better idea, right? So let me create an issue. And we have integration with nearly 17 to 18 different project management tools as well, which is a good thing about like one of the unique things about our LambdaTest platform. Let me also show how it will look like in the Slack channel. So yeah, so this is how it will look like in the Slack. And you will also see that there's a link to that PractiTest account. Let me click on that. Yeah, this is how it will look like in PractiTest. You will see that there are tags here. There's automatically it was added, which was the test ID, what was the URL that was tested, what was the operating system, browser resolution. And the best part about this integration is this particular URL. So if you have assigned this to a different tester, and this tester want to reproduce, or this developer want to reproduce this same issue, they just have to click on this URL, and this will automatically open up LambdaTest and that same particular configuration, right? This particular configuration, Mac 10.15, Mac Mojave, and I think Mac Catalina, my bad, Safari 13, this particular resolution, this particular URL, everything the same. This would be exactly reproduced here, and you won't have to kind of log into LambdaTest platform, select that browser operating system, and then so that whole process is completely bypassed. So you just, this particular integration is the main event here. So just click on this URL and you will be able to access this particular configuration. This saves a hell of time, specifically if the users are employees are around working around cross-border testing for specific browsers, browser versions, etc. You will also be able to see that in that you that image that we have just annotated and added to as an integration. You will be able to see that as well. And as I said, you will be able to test your website with the same way, right? Another good aspect is that this integration kind of goes with all the features around LambdaTest. That means all the major features around LambdaTest, real-time testing, automation, uh, visual UI testing. That means screenshot testing, responsive testing, and even the LT browser. So this is another feature that we have recently launched, the LT browser. Do check it out. It's a downloadable uh, desktop app that will help you to do responsive app testing as well. So for example, let's say screenshot testing. So if you have a previously run screenshot, or you have just run a screenshot, you can use this same add an integration feature here. You can mark it as a bug and integrate it with PractiTest and kind of send this bug directly to the PractiTest account like this. So you can annotate it, you can change different colors, everything. So there are multiple features around it. Clicking on mark it as bug will send it to the Slack as well as PractiTest account. And as I said, it is not just limited to our manual and screenshot features. It are also available with our automation feature. So if you are familiar with our automation feature, then that's awesome. If you're not, let me give a quick recap. So we are providing an online Selenium automation testing tool. So if you are already using Selenium or JavaScript some way in your automation testing, you can use LambdaTest as a platform to increase your browser test coverage or run your test in parallel. So you can run your multiple tests in parallel at LambdaTest based on the plan you are subscribed. That will not only help you increase your browser coverage, but also decrease your overall test execution time. So for example, if you are subscribed to, let's say, 10 parallel sessions and you have 100 test cases to run, each test case takes, let's say, 1 minute to execute. So without LambdaTest, those 100 tests will take around 100 minutes to execute. However, with LambdaTest, with 10 tests running in parallel, the whole test ecosystem will run in, let's say, 100 by 10 minutes. So it will take 10 minutes to execute overall 100 tests. Similarly, if you have 100 parallel sessions, the whole test execution system will run in, let's say, in 1 minute, in fact. So this is a perfectly good way to kind of increase your browser coverage, at the same time decrease your overall test execution time. So I also wanted to highlight that we have end-to-end documentation around this part that can help you in this to getting started with both LambdaTest in the manual setting and in the automation setting. However, if you face any issue or if you face any integration issue, if you have any questions, do reach out at our in-app chat support. There are somebody out there who can help you out to immediately. We have very high response time as well. This is also a feature that I wanted to highlight with PractiTest as well, right? So this is something that I'm personally very glad that PractiTest have as well. They have an in-app chat support as well based on intercom, and I have had a few chance to exchange mail with Edit. So she is really helpful around automation, around PractiTest and PractiTest journey, how you can use PractiTest as well. So this is also one of the great features about PractiTest as well, that you get awesome and direct support with a live human being who knows what they're talking about, who knows their stuff, and can directly help you out with your requirements. Right? So that is one of the like differentiating factors that I see with PractiTest and other project management tools as well. Right? That support, that kind of makes it everything a little bit of different. All right. So as you can see, there's somebody who's already there online who can who's directly helping me out. So for example, Arpit, he is one of our automation support engineers. So he is directly expert on automation engineer. So just ask any question with from him, like any crazy question. If you have around automation or about LambdaTest or even about PractiTest, he would be there to help you out as well. So apart from PractiTest, we also have integration with other project management tools like Jira, Asana, Trello, Slack, and Mantis, everybody. We also have multiple integrations with CI/CD pipelines like Jenkins, Circle CI, GitLab, everything. So if you are using an CI/CD platform in your overall test execution, that would be a great way to integrate with LambdaTest as well. And again, we have end-to-end documentation around this as well that you can leverage to make sure that everything is working smoothly or not. So I think that's it from my side. This is a great webinar so far. We have been able to check how exactly PractiTest works. Anthony gave us a very awesome demo about PractiTest, and now I will be happy to take any Q&A that you may have around LambdaTest or PractiTest or anything, and we will be happy to help. So the first question that I have is from Harika around will LambdaTest support Cypress automation tool? So my answer for this is that yeah, we are working on it. In a near future, that would mean like in a few months of a time, like maybe by next month, we will be able to launch a Cypress-based automation as well. We already have headless automation, so you may be able to run tests on it. However, Cypress recently added capabilities around core browser automation around Chrome, latest versions of Chrome, latest version of Firefox as well. So this is something that we are working, and we are working actively with Cypress as well on this part. So immediately, so within a few months, I will not say few months as well, within by next month, we will be able to launch some kind of support for that as well. So that's it. So I think we don't have any more questions right now. I will give you a few minutes of that time to kind of see if you guys have any other questions around this part. If you have any questions for me or for Anthony, we will be happy to help you around that part as well. Anthony, is there anything else that you wanted to add to this conversation right now? Let me know.
Okay, thanks. I think just to add another point about Jira versus other test management tools, and that is that people often think that yes, we're going to go for a budget by just adding a plugin to Jira. And as I said before, you've got this issue firstly with regard to the fact that they aren't exactly built the same way. And what's important in the project management is not necessarily important in test management. So firstly, you're trying to shoehorn perhaps a square peg into a round hole. But also there are other aspects as well with regard to things like scalability. And with PractiTest, especially when you're doing large number of testing cycles, and you'll see this obviously with LambdaTest as well. You could be doing builds every day or multiple times a day, and that generates huge numbers of tests. and we've had it reported through other test management tools as well, that when Jira starts to try and do huge numbers of testing cycles in its own system, it starts to bring the system down, and it increases in efficiency. And especially if you're on a Jira server, you can actually crash the server that way.
Exactly. So that is also a great point as well. So we should always keep in mind the aspect around at scale. What will your tool works like when you are at scale? So you are starting up right now, or maybe starting up your process right now, maybe not the company, but the process. But eventually you are going to scale up. You are going to write more tests. You're going to write more processes. You're going to work on more test cycles, test cases. The features are going to work. There will be more processes, more features, everything will be more and more and more and more. So you should always keep in mind whether your tool would be able to support you when you are going at scale, right? So if you can set up a best practice in the starting phase itself, that will give you a very that will save a lot of headache in the future as well, right? If you can,
Yeah.
let's say, set up with PractiTest right now itself, maybe you won't be managing that many of tests right now, but eventually, like 1 year down the line, or even 6 months down the line, when you have like hundreds of new features, you want to manage them, manage their test cases. That's where
Yeah.
these kind of tools help out with, right? So setting
Yeah.
up best practices at the starting phase itself kind of saves a lot of effort, time, resources, everything in the future when you are at scale, right? So that is a very important
Agreed.
consideration.
Agreed entirely. So look for your tools which are good for you to scale with, and don't necessarily try and. I know it's always a temptation that we say, well, let's have one tool that fits all. But if each tool does the job supremely well and is scalable for what it's doing, then sometimes it's better to have multiple tools as long as they can talk to each other than trying to squeeze everything into a one-size-fits-all solution, which doesn't really work for any of the things that you're trying to do.
Exactly. So we should have keep in mind that no single tool in the market is built for one single use case, or like a generalized use case. Each and every tool have their pros and cons, their your set of use cases, and our job is to make sure to kind of decrease the workload of our developers, testers, DevOps people, everybody else, to focus on their important tasks, right? To focus
Yeah.
on the thing that they are very good at, not on management, or maybe we can make their lives easier. So that's what these tools are all about. The software as
Yeah.
a service tools are about, and this is again a very huge advantages of these integrations as well. That you get an
Exactly.
integrated ecosystem where all these tools talk with each other, work with each
Mhm.
other, complement each other, right? So that
Mhm.
makes the life of a tester, of a developer, of a DevOps people very easier, right?
Yeah, agreed entirely. And that's why I think doing these webinars is so great that you and obviously the work behind the webinars, which is producing the integrations, because being able to integrate, and we see it on our side as well, integrating with different pieces of software that people want to be able to use, whether it's through the API or through being able to actually have custom ready built integrations. This is what people need, rather than trying to squeeze them into one tool, making sure that the tools do the best job for them, and then that they talk to each other so that they don't have to reproduce the work in multiple tools at once.
Awesome, right? That's exactly the point I wanted to hit at as well. I see that there are no further questions around it. Let me, in fact, give a quick check. I think they are not. So maybe we can end the meet right now for this part. Anthony, is there any aspect that we're missing that you wanted to add on this part? Let me know.
Okay, thank you. It's been great for you host it. It's been great that you've hosted it. I've really enjoyed participating with you and meeting you as well, Mudid.
Awesome. So that was a privilege from my side as well. It was really great kind of conversing with you on this part. And it was really great to have a chat on this testing and testing processes as well. I'm really happy that we did it. And I'm sure that this was a very useful exercise for our attendees as well. So maybe in the future, as we add more and more features around LambdaTest and PractiTest integration as well, we can do this in further as well. Also, I wanted to highlight the fact that we both LambdaTest and PractiTest both have in-app chat support. So if you have any questions around this, users, you do feel free to reach out, and we'll be happy to help you around this part as well. Right. So I think that's it from our side. It was really nice to host you. Really nice that we kind of connect on this part. And it's a crazy time right now. I agree with this part as well. However, I see a silver lining at the end of the tunnel. We are gonna get through this. We are gonna come out stronger out of this, and we are gonna become smarter every day. Like that's the guiding principle of us.
Right. Okay then.
Awesome. So nice connecting with you all. I would be also hosting all of this webinar over the YouTube as well. So if you want to share this with your teammates, team members across, I would be happy to share the link to this as well over your email, the YouTube link of this hosted webinar, and from there you can do that as well, right? So with that, let me take our leave. Thank you, Anthony, for helping us out with PractiTest and taking this webinar, taking your time out for this webinar. Really happy that we could host you, and really glad that we can have this conversation.
Thank you. And to everyone, of course, keep well and keep safe as well.
Awesome. So with that, I will end this webinar. Have a great day ahead, everybody.